Constitutional Support Mission to Mali, AFISMA. The EU has pledged to support the implementation of the roadmap for the transition to democratic and constitutional rule, national inclusive dialogue, and free and fair elections. Beyond this immediate priority, as well as the necessary continued attention to the situation in Guinea-Bissau and on maritime security, ECOWAS needs to strengthen its critical long-term capacities in conflict prevention and resolution. As you are aware, Mr. President, the European Union and its member states are contributing substantially to this objective by supporting the ECOWAS peace and security mandate, the fight against human and drug trafficking in support of the ECOWAS Declaration on Drugs and Crime, and migration management in line with the draft policy currently under discussion.
Ambassador McRae noted that ECOWAS is still a major force for achieving the integration agenda, but regretted that member states do not sometimes implement ECOWAS protocols.
It's our concern that the member states of ECOWAS should actually adopt things which have been agreed upon regionally. As you know, the European Union is a product of regional integration. We Europeans have benefited considerably from the integration which has taken place in Europe, which is for the good of the people of Europe. We want to see those same good things for the people of West Africa. So we want to see the ECOWAS Commission functioning well. We want to see the member states of ECOWAS leading the way and agreeing on things to promote that regional integration.
One of the major highlights of the donor conference was the presentation of a €50 million grant by the European Union to ECOWAS to support the African-led International Support Mission for Mali, AFISMA, which has now entered the consolidation and stabilization phase. The EU had made a pledge to donate the amount at the donors conference hosted by ECOWAS on the margins of the AU summit held in Addis Ababa on 29th January 2013. The agreement for the €50 million grant was signed by ECOWAS Commission President Ambassador Kadri Desiree Ouedraogo and the head of EU delegation to Nigeria, David McRae. Ambassador Ouedraogo said an EU training mission is already in Mali to build the capacity of the Mali security and defense forces.
The ongoing efforts by EU training mission aimed at building up the capacity of Mali defense and security forces. This program will go a long way in restoring the confidence and operational capability of the Malian defense and security forces. It will position them to take charge of the responsibility of defending and protecting the country when the international deployment rounds up. Permit me to reiterate ECOWAS' profound gratitude to EU for its solidarity and support.
Head of EU delegation, Ambassador McRae, called on ECOWAS to establish a finance cell within the ECOWAS Commission Office for Political Affairs, Peace and Security to manage peace support operations.
Most of the EU funding will cover the allowances for the troops and officers and will directly support the deployment of AFISMA. I would like to use this occasion to commend the decision of President Ouedraogo to establish a finance cell within the ECOWAS Commission for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, which will significantly strengthen the capacity of ECOWAS as an institution to manage this peace support operation. Part of the EU funding will directly support the establishment and funding of this new cell, which I'm informed is already well advanced to take on this important role. Indeed, the personnel for this cell are in this room with us today, I do know. This rapid deployment of ECOWAS staff to address in the short term an urgent need for the region is again highly commendable.
He said the EU also pledged to support the roadmap for the transition to democratic and constitutional rule, national inclusive dialogue, as well as free and fair elections in Mali. The EU ambassador therefore urged the Malian authorities to accelerate the full return to constitutional rule and the political reconstruction of the country. He said EU development aid to Mali is gradually resuming with 250 million euros available from the European Development Fund. Ambassador Macrae said a further 20 million euros will be devoted to supporting the political process, justice and law enforcement in Mali. Humanitarian aid to Mali is also expected to increase with another 42 million euros this year. The European Union is also committing a grant of 26 million euros to the seamless implementation of the ECOWAS Protocol on Free Movement of Goods, Services and Persons, which has experienced several challenges.
When this mobility takes place in a safe and orderly manner, it's also associated with improved outcomes in terms of health and education, in terms of improving the status of women, giving them empowerment. It can help communities to prevent or to cope with environmental issues. It's beneficial in so many ways. It's increasingly clear that the free movement of people, goods and services within the West African region is crucial for regional economic integration and therefore for the development of West Africa. Mr. President, the financing agreement will make available this grant, as I've said, of 26 million euros, and it aims to maximise the benefits from the free movement of persons. Its specific objective is to improve movement of persons and migration management by supporting the effective implementation of the ECOWAS Free Movement of Persons protocols and the ECOWAS Common Approach on Migration.
Many countries in West Africa are currently dealing with the devastating effect of climate change already. To help to address these challenges, Sweden is taking the lead in helping West African countries. The country is providing direct financing to a program ECOWAS agreed upon in 2010 to reduce the vulnerability of the West African community to climate change. The government of Sweden has given the ECOWAS Commission a grant of $6.7 million to help vulnerable communities adapt to the devastating effects of climate change and environmental challenges. The $6.7 million is for the Commission to mitigate the effects of climate change in the region over a period of 4 years.
West Africa has to be prepared for a range of different climate scenarios. How does the agriculture need to be changed to adapt to hotter temperatures and a drier, but in some places a wetter, more humid climate? How should cities be planned so that poor people's houses will not be washed away in the next flood or by ocean waves eating up the coast? These are some of the questions that the region is facing. Already in 2010, ECOWAS was the first among the African RECs to agree on a strategic program for decreased vulnerability to climate change. This will be a difficult but necessary work, and the role of ECOWAS is to support its member states in developing and implementing actions that are the most relevant to their different contexts and opportunities.
ECOWAS Commission President Kadri Desiree Ouedraogo assured the Swedish ambassador that climate and environment issues feature highly on the priorities of the organization.
The vulnerability to climate change is